Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with JP, of course, for our Star Wars CCG graded update. Good to see you, JP. As always, it is September 2025. This recording is as of the 4th. We've all been a little busy, so cut us some slack here, people. I know everyone's waiting for these. We have a whole bunch of exciting things to talk about today, of course. Great milestones achieved. We will cover our contest, what happened for last month, upcoming contest, winners, Facebook group updates, show updates, sales of note from last month, and some other exciting news as well on the back end, and what other grading specials are going on to wrap it up. So let's kick things off with August. We had our forest nature theme. JP, fill us in on the lowball category, since I know that's one of your favorites.
Yeah, I usually compete in that. I want somebody to compete against, but it's easy to beat me, and it usually has the best prizes, as they say, every stream. So we had a couple of good showings. Me, of course. I sent in the 2 jungles, and you can't get any more jungly than the jungles. But the winner for lowball is Brian Emery. So he had submitted the indoor foils, the PSA Elite Squad Stormtrooper and the PSA 8 Biker Scout Trooper. So
yeah, that's right.
And just to get foil, just to throw in a little note is that's a pretty darn good grade for foils, and indoor foils are super hard to grade high. So good
That's
job,
right.
Brian.
Yeah,
he gets the PSA 9 Captain Varric, I believe.
Yeah, from Death Star 2. So that's pretty solid. That's probably solid. So congrats, Brian, on that. Unique category. We had a few entrances from that. That's usually one of my favorite categories. And Luke Fritz, I think, kind of took it with this one. I thought the cards paired really well, nicely together. We had an HGA 9 Through the Force, Things You Will See, in this sort of reverse slab thing. And then PSA 9 Son of Skywalker, which essentially is Luke, right side up, not upside down. So I thought those cards paired together worked really well.
Very, very clever. Both showed nature and jungle. And so good job, Luke.
Yeah, so Luke will be getting the Obi-Wan Unlimited SGC 8.5. So I will send that out to him. Congrats, Luke. And then top, I'm gonna talk about second place, and then you can go for top pair. So in a close second, we had a first time showing of Jeremy Christoffel, who had a PSA 8 Yoda and Yoda's Hut foil. Jeremy, it's good to see you in the contest list. Let's get some more folks in here too. So it was a close second, but first place, JP.
Yeah, Andy Halbrooks. He's won before, I believe. He's kind of a regular competitor, and his 2 submissions were PSA 9 Tempest 1, which is a great card, but really he had a PSA 10 3PO foil, and we were just talking about how hard foils are to grade high grades, and he got a PSA 10. So great job, Andy, and he gets the PSA 5 the Tonica sisters. I call them Tanika.
Yes, the Tonica sisters, which will come in handy for an upcoming contest category. Hopefully you'll enter in the low ball, right? We like to give the low balls the high ones and the high ones the low ones so you can compete in different categories. No hints there at all whatsoever. So congrats on that. Our upcoming themes, as you're dying to know, we have October is Thieves and Smugglers, and November is character cards where there's more than one face of a character in the picture on the card. So a lot of cards typically only have one face in it of the card. That won't work. But if you have, Han and Leia in the same picture, or Tarkin and Vader in the same picture, or other characters, maybe other aliens where you can see their faces in the same picture, droid, alien, human, officer, doesn't matter, as long as it's 2 different or more, right, in that picture. This is interesting because this could be an interrupt, it could be a character, It could be a location. I don't know. It could be whatever has two different faces, right? So this will be very interesting. I don't know if there's an easy way to look it up. You might have to just start looking at your slabs and see what's what. So stay tuned on December. We'll work through that later, but let's move on to Facebook group updates. So this is the big one, JP.
It's the big one. I've been watching it for days, and finally it flipped from 999 to 1,000 members. I gave it like another 24 hours just to see if somebody left, and then it went back to 999. But it stayed up to 1,000. I think we're up to 1,009 right now. So congratulations to everybody in the group. I just want to thank everybody, all of the group experts, all the admins, everyone that's made this a fun community. It's grown organically. We're not forcing anything, and everyone in the group has been so friendly and so helpful, and all the new members that come in that are asking for help, they get the best guidance. And really, all of us old timers that were in the group, we've already paid the dummy tax, and we just want to help the new folks be that much better at inspecting and grading. And that's what it is. It's us against the grading services. We're one community.
Yeah, that's right. I will say, for those who have jumped on board and are seeing this for the first time, welcome, obviously. But the engagement is pretty good in this group. There's some groups you join and then you just kind of like not much happens, and it's kind of there because you're like interested in it. But that's not really the case with this group. And I will say, like, summer's a little slower, but as it gets colder out and people are forced inside again to look and examine at their collections and stuff, typically fall, winter, and even early spring are going to be busier for this kind of stuff. I would imagine we won't be seeing any real specials from any of the grading companies for a while. But that's okay. We like to take care of our members here. So if you have any other questions, concerns about a lot of different grading companies out there, a lot of different methods and methodologies, a lot of returns. If you want to see graded returns of Star Wars CCG, I usually post them of myself, but I also post them for members that don't have channels, so we can share in that excitement and curiosity of getting a return of Star Wars CCG graded cards back. So I know a few members have done that, and I thank them for that contribution for that, because I think it should be shared. I think that's really cool. I like watching that stuff. I don't know about you, but nothing like getting a good return back and seeing some new gems hit the arena. So all good stuff.
Yep. I love it. And I just want to add that, this isn't just straight up grading Star Wars CCG cards. It's a hobby. It's your hobby. A lot of the members, they still play the card game. You can flip them. You can collect them. We compete in the PSA registry sets that are built. We're in kind of an open auction sales house too. You can buy and sell right on our Facebook group. So it's really however you want to have your hobby. There's no right or wrong way, but we want an area where we can all have camaraderie in knowing of, somebody just wants to collect foils. Somebody just wants to collect characters or the main characters, or they just want to grade cards to sell. Whatever your hobby is, we're here to help. So just reach out and just ask anybody in the group any questions you got. So
yeah, the grading has kind of created like a resurgence for me in terms of a new challenge. Once you kind of complete the sets and stuff, it can get kind of, I don't want to say dull, but now chasing through different graded sets or different unique grades, or registry sets like you mentioned, of like who can get the best set ever and stuff like that. Like that's like a totally wild new challenge, and now like sealed product, we rip it to try and get a good grade, and now all of a sudden I care about where a card is on the sheet that was printed, like stuff I would never have bothered to learn because I'm like, who cares? But it does matter, like where, if it's on the edge, if it's in the corner, it could be really difficult to get in a true mint grade. So like if one pops up, or like we talk about the Endor foils or specific cards like Luke's land speeder, we know can be very difficult to get a top grade in. There's other cards that you've just learned little quirks and things about that from a quality control standpoint. I'm just like, wow, this is crazy, right? You could get the same card ripped from the pack and it not be a top grade, which is just wild and frustrating, of course. I'll be getting a Tarkin and a Millennium Falcon back from PSA, which
Japanese?
Not, yeah, Japanese, yeah. So I was praying they would get higher. I did okay, but I'll talk about that later. But yeah. So, anyways, welcome. We have plenty of experience here, and look forward to your contributions and what you are collecting. So feel free to share that stuff.
We have some celebrations because of the 1,000 member milestone, and we're going to be having some drawings. We're going to be giving away prizes probably starting next week. We're going to be putting a post out to the group kind of explaining what we're doing. We're going to probably have specific dates and some probably specific things that you guys will have to do to participate. But we are celebrating the 1,000 milestone. And so there'll be more to come on that. So yes, be part of that and be looking for some posts in the group for that. So I'll let you continue.
Yes. Thank you, JP. Yes. Sunday, let's see, today's the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, right? Sunday the 7th. We will drop a post and we need you to comment on there. 1,000. We will post this in here, right? We want to get an engagement, and there'll be multi-prize giveaways, multiple prizes to multiple people will be given away for that initial 1,000 that have jumped in, and one of them being there's some prizes of unspeakable value, but this amazing Star Wars CCG encyclopedia of all products and lists and stuff, hardback, was generously donated by Robert V. And it's just an incredible book. And I'm going to have to get my hands on one. But he insisted that this should be given away to a random member. So, wow, what a gift. I also have a bunch of slabs we plan on giving away to the newest 30 members of that 1,000. So for those who are just jumping into this or are armchair curious and maybe don't have much in their collection but want to know more, you will probably be a part of this. So we will do some drawings for that as well. So again, if you want to participate in this, we'll send that post out on Sunday with instructions on commenting for that and follow up from there. So anything else on the group updates? We've been pretty good on the security side, right? Have had no
we haven't had any problems.
Sale, no sketchiness of any kind this past month.
Nope, we've had no troubles and everything's been running pretty smooth. I like to thank a lot of the members that catch it very quickly, and you guys are starting to be seasoned too, because they're posting images and cards without coining them. So there's a lot of rules that we kind of follow that just to keep things safe. And when you notice something, say something. And that's what people have been doing. So nobody's gotten ripped off in a long time. And we've been catching scammers. I think we had to get rid of one person that had 2 or 3 different accounts. And so we just did a little housekeeping, and it didn't affect our membership growth at all. But security's been good and everybody's been safe.
Excellent. Well, that's good to know. Show updates, right? Upcoming shows. JP, you were talking before offline of some of the shows in your area that were popping up. Tell us about some of those.
Yeah, so I'd like to stay on top of the local area. I mean, as far as Kansas City, now I'm located in Springfield, Missouri, so we're kind of geographically centrally located in a lot of different major areas. But There's going to be one in Branson. I just was reading about in the last day or two. I'm going to get more familiar to. I'm probably going to go as a spectator. I'm usually a vendor, and I get like 3 tables. So the last 2 or 3 shows I've done in the past month or two have been really exciting. New members have joined because of coming to the table. I can't even believe that they remember these Star Wars cards. They're out there buying these cards. And even some other vendors have been coming up to my table wondering why people have been kind of flocking over just to kind of take a look. And they're like, that's why it's historic. So I'm going to kind of still see, how Star Wars is panning out. But I'm telling you, Pokemon's got a stranglehold on a lot of these card shows.
Yes. And speaking of, in my neck of the woods, I vended my first card show last weekend. And it was a primarily Pokemon, but also a non-sport TCG and collector card show locally. So it was only 25 minutes from where I live. I had my best friend come up, and so he could help run the table for me. Luckily, it was only open 8 to 2 in the afternoon. So it was not a marathon weekend like some of these card shows were, which is good because I wouldn't want to leave my stuff unattended. But we primarily were listing Pokemon and One Piece, but there was some Magic there. There was some retro cards and other stuff. So I'm glad it's in the space. My plan is to kind of diversify like what's out there. You kind of got a feel for what the crowds are looking for. I get the sense that different shows have different crowds are looking for different things. Some might be heavier into sealed products, some might be bigger into singles, and others might be into the slabs. Different companies favored, and then there's other oddball stuff of people just selling tchotchkes and other stuff. It's kind of hard to know unless you've been a little seasoned in this stuff. From what I'm gathering, I'm sure JP, you could probably speak to some of this too. But our area in Delaware, either everybody's in Philly or like DC area. Now DC area has an extremely strong like non-sport card trading card show scene. There's stuff going on like almost every day. Like any weekend, there's like 3 or 4 going on within an hour. It's insane. The demand is really high there. Philly is not really it gets occasional interest, but generally it goes to like New Jersey, New York for like Collecticon, or like Southern Virginia. There's nothing really like in that sweet spot. I stumbled across the Best Flippin' Card Show. I think it's something big in the Northeast. I think they run out of like Boston, Connecticut, and like up north, but I think they're shredding down here. So just the more interest for shows, and there's like a big, demand here. So I'm happy to see that shows are expanding, and I'm always on the hunt for newer local shows, because honestly, like, especially when I found in the currency world, like you go to these small shows, like most of the stuff maybe isn't directly what you're looking for, but if you find that like 1 or 2 gems in there, you can get a good deal in there, or you're going to see something you would otherwise never see, especially coming from people that might have collections and maybe don't post some of that stuff online, either because they have so much inventory, or maybe because, they just got it recently, or who knows, like you kind of get first dibs, and it's more preferable to uncover some of these treasures in these shows, right? Like people don't want to like have to ship and then deal tax and like list it and like all this other nonsense. So some people just don't bother with that, right? So you have the opportunity to do trades and finds at these kind of shows, right? So I love that hunt, and I think that's at the core of what makes collecting exciting, going to these shows and engaging with people, right? I love hearing what other people are collecting. I always ask, like, so what are you collecting? What are you into? What's your, chase cards and all that stuff? Like, because everyone's so different, so it's an exciting time. I hope to vend it at more stuff too. Be a veteran like you, JP.
Oh, yeah. I have been doing it for a long time. I've been doing shows, and I used to do a lot of sports card shows, but I really enjoy the non-sports side of it. And it's more and more, like you said, I see Pokemon and Magic and, even just the regular, like top Star Wars cards are real big. They're back in huge demand. But yeah, I love hearing people's hobbies, what they collect, and I just like getting out in it. It's just enjoyable. That's what I do.
Yeah, I wonder if it's something, in such an age where things are more and more thrown at us digitally, like all this AI and virtual stuff and NFTs and, all this online virtual stuff. It's like there's two different people, right, in this world. There's those who are okay with putting their assets into virtual, non-actual things, and then there's people that want to hold something in their hand, and be like, this has value, right? Like I accept that I am that person, and I'm not good at stock trading. I don't know the first damn thing about NFT values and what smoking monkey picture is going to be worth $1 million. But if you give me some cards, I could probably help find out the value of those and spec on that. It's just in their blood, right? I don't know. What can I say? Okay, so another thing with the celebration, I did mention that after we hit 1,000, that I would be doing my own card party. I'm hoping to get a few other select members together to help commentate and or help rip stuff in this card party. My plan is to rip a Japanese Premier starter brick. So I think there's 12 starters in there, which means there's 24 rares in there and a whole bunch of uncommons and lots of pretty stuff to grade. Hopefully I get lucky. Hopefully it's not all Tarkin Seekers and Mahdi Seekers and Sand Crawlers, because that would be worth crying about. But I have to imagine there'd be something of value for me in there because otherwise that would be an expensive loss. And it probably still will be, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point. I am still going for the set. So yes, if anybody is interested in being a part of that, reach out to me, message me, and I'll help coordinate and set that up.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying we also got to talk about the PSA grading specials and what the other grading services are doing. PSA is launching a new comic and magazine grading service too, so that's probably going to stir up a lot of interest. Still watching for the non-sports stuff, and it's still staying right where they want it. There hasn't been any specials lately, but there is an autograph special I think that they're running. So it just hasn't been super great for grading Star Wars stuff here lately.
Yeah, it has. Ever since this GameStop PSA partnership, I don't know if I'm not sure if we'll see a special anytime soon. Between the volume they're getting from that, they don't need to incentivize more volume enough. But I have heard a lot of chatter of, vendors and collectors who are just like, they're too backed up and it's too expensive. Like, I'm not going to bother right now, right? So the alternatives are CGC, SGC, and Beckett primarily. And CGC they graded 438,000 cards last month, which is up 10% over the prior month and up 156% year over year, whereas PSA graded 1.66 million, down 1% from last month and only up over the year 19%. So they're up a little bit, but CGC is running up, probably with mostly Pokemon cards. Let's be honest here, but that is a very interesting swing, and it is a very strong signal that they are here to stay and growing, especially since SGC experiencing a large loss year over year, minus 29%, and Beckett, I'm not sure what's really going on with them, but they have lost 14% over last month and are down 1% year over year. Very interesting. They only graded 64,000 cards last month, which is relatively really small compared to the other ones. I myself use Beckett for one-piece cards because they're Japanese high-quality cards, so they're more likely to get a black label. But I don't think I've submitted Star Wars CCG cards to Beckett myself. I know you have more experience with that, but I thought those were fair.
That's my main grading service for all my PC. So all my sets are graded through Beckett. I just love the subgrades. I love the slabs. They are a little thicker and hard to store. But when I started, and I started a long time ago, it's probably been 20 years ago at this point. Oh, and they were the only ones that were grading Star Wars cards. PSA didn't want to have anything to do with non-sports, and really those were the only two competitors. And they were giving me specials of $6 a card and $8 a card if I was doing bulk. So I was sending in full sets at a time.
That's wild. Could you imagine if it were $6 a card now? I don't know if we'd ever see those cards would be out for a year and a half. Like people.
Yeah, I had to get a set. I had a New Hope set come back. It was like caught in that COVID, mess. They didn't know if they were going to stay in business, how they were going to do all their pricing. And really, I thought that like their submission forms were their contract. But they were like, they held on to it for a year and a half, and they said, we're never going to we don't have the staff. They had to send people home, and they were sitting on such volumes of card. They said the safest thing to do is just refund your money and give you your set back. And I was like, okay, all that they want to do is just say, if you want to send it back in, now it's 10 times the money. So that's all that they really did.
Let's chat about some interesting sales from last month. I know Luke had sent out a rough recap, and there was nothing too crazy, but I did want to call out some interesting things just as a recap over the last month. There was a PSA 6 Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight foil that sold for $233.50. So even in a low grade, that still held decent value. There was also a Mara Jade Emperor's Hand foil Reflections 2 PSA 6 for $100. So even though that's not in the best shape, that still held its value pretty solid. We also had a Imperial class Star Destroyer Premier CGC 9.5 sell for $33. And it said it was a Pop 1. Well, yes, I guess so. I think that's kind of interesting. We did have an HGA sale for the first time in a long time. Leia from the Jedi Pack, HGA 9 for $45.99. So that was kind of interesting. That's probably the only Leia Jedi Pack in an HGA that I guess we'll ever see if HGA decides to turn on again. I was kind of like, did I want to sell this? So anyways, cool stuff. We had a Boba Fett Reflections PSA 9 sell for $159.88. So Boba Fett, that's probably a pretty solid sale, I think, for the Reflections foil set. That's a good card to have. I would probably hold on to that. We had 2 Queen Amidala's sell AI, one for Coruscant, one from Theed PSA 8. One was $379.99, the other's $299.99. So those pretty much holding at almost raw price there, I think, right? Like that's pretty close to what people would be paying for those cards anyways. We did have a Kick Denect Hero of the Dune Sea Mini Unpunched promo card PSA 5 sell that was slabbed backwards for $35. So we don't see that item graded very often, much less sold very often. So that was interesting. We had a Boss Nass AI Feed Palace PSA 9 sell for $159.99. That was kind of interesting. We did have a Commander Luke Skywalker Japanese Hoth BGS 8.5 sell for $800. So that's a pretty significant sale. That card seems to also always kind of command at least the solid premium no matter what. We did have an SGC sale. We don't see as many of those anymore. SGC 9.5 Han Solo Premier sell for $122.50. We did have a Darth Vader Unlimited Premier PSA 10 sell for $355, which is actually a big drop over when the other sales were of that. I just don't think many were sold, but I think the other ones were sold, a year or two ago. So that's kind of curious. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of those flood in. I guess maybe they're still not as common as people believe they are, or just people aren't grading them. Yeah, so we did have other interesting sales. We had Darth Vader of Reflections PSA 7 sell for $119. So I think that's interesting, given that's kind of less than mint, but still holding its value. We had an Obi-Wan Kenobi Unlimited sell for $125 as a PSA 10. So that's also kind of interesting. So we have another whiteboarder. Nothing too crazy, a few interesting sales in there, but I think it's also being August. Most people are traveling. Most people are getting ready back for school, college, all that nonsense. It's probably not a time where they're really like, oh my gosh, I have to look at what's going on in the graded world. To be honest, I kind of like check in and out of that here and there. So I don't,
Yep.
I don't blame you for weren't really in it, but trying to get back into it, trying to refocus and pivot. I do have the saved on my eBay thing, like Star Wars CCG,
Right.
graded or stuff like that pops up. So I get alerts for that kind of stuff, but I'm missing the the penny auctions for those things. I think Sergey did have a bunch of items up for sale. Some good stuff too. I showed the return on my channel, and there was some crazy good stuff in there.
Yep.
I'm not even sure why he's so hungry to sell them, but hey, power to him if he's just like a broker for goodness.
It's
but
crazy.
yeah, both Lando's coming back 10. Like that was pretty dope. There were some other really cool cards in there. That was
I'd like to
nuts.
add.
So
I'd like to
congrats
add
to him.
and comment that before we get too far off of all those unique sales is that I've been seeing more and more within our own like group expert admin communication is that we don't even know who most of these people are anymore. We used to know who's selling what, when they're selling it, and we can kind of track. And even Luke knows the private sales. But here over the past couple of months, it's grown so much in the sales side of it that we're talking, well, who's selling this and who's this person? And so there's a lot more people out there that are really joining into, getting into submitting to all the grading services, and they're probably not part of our group. They're just out there just doing their own thing.
It's funny you mention that because some of the cards I've sold on my eBay channel, I connect with them and I say, hey, are you part of the graded group? And they're like, no, what's that? I'm like, it's on Facebook. They're like, oh, I don't have Facebook. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we do like monthly recaps and contests there, but you can check out my YouTube channel where I talk about it. So I have another guy who was asking, hey, do you have any Japanese Premier Millennium Falcons or like other stuff? Because he was interested in the Han Solo. And it was the same story. It was just like, he's like interested in this. I'm like, oh, I didn't, I had a few Japanese things for sale, so somebody else is interested in it. I think that's a good thing, though. I think it needs to expand beyond just what's in the Facebook. Like, I think having slabs available at all times shows there is stuff in the market and that the sales are gaining traction. Like, people can see the solds, and the fact that Luke is doing a fantastic job, like literally being the historian of what is going on here is like completely invaluable to like all this. I really don't know where we'd be without it. It would all be one big guessing game and maybe people pretending their things are worth more or less than they are. I don't know. It would be a total mess, but having that data is so crucial. So yeah, if you're not part of the group, but would like to figure out how to get a hold of that graded sheet, so for pricing and general stuff like that, you can reach out. You can message in the comments on Facebook Messenger, or we can find another way to connect. I do know there is a Discord, but I don't know how often it's checked. I'll have to check with Mark. Yeah. I haven't Discord in a while, but yeah, you got to get in on the action and find out, because there will be deals that go on in this Facebook group. So even if you got to find a way to get in Facebook, I would implore you to do though, but perhaps we'll find other ways of expanding outside of Facebook. Other than that, JP, hey, we've reached 1,000. This is what we're doing. What's the next goal here? 2,000?
Yeah, I thought I'd just sell the Facebook page now and be done and retire. But no, I love where it's gone. I never thought it would be this big and this exciting. So I love where it's at. And I'm not a young guy, and I have talked about retirement in probably the next 10, 12 years or something like that. So I really I want to do this as my hobby when I retire. I'm not going to go sit in a rocking chair and whittle on wood. This is my love is these cards. So I'm full force. So this will be around for a while, and thank you all for being part of it. Thank you for all your work, Kyle, of doing all the contests and all the fun stuff. So everybody's engaged, and I just can't be happier.
Yeah, we're all doing our piece of the puzzle here. I get it. One of my uncles, 82, and he's got extensive collections, like most of the Bowman baseballs, 52, 53, 55, the entire sets. He struggled technology-wise to figure out the PSA registry set, so I've been trying to work on that, but there's some that are not claimed, because otherwise he would have maybe, if not number one, he would have like a top 3 set for most of those 50s Bowman sets. Like, he just has them in his basement. And he's been buying, selling, trading them forever, which, if anybody knows baseball cards, like, this is pretty impressive to hunt all that stuff down, and it's worth a lot. So it's very impressive.
He also, just to get them, I mean, just to get one card, you've got to like save up the whole month. It's like, I finally got card, but nobody's worth $1,000. So
he's been collecting since he was a little boy. He had the world's premier Standing Liberty coin collection in the world for a long time, and before he unloaded that, because eventually it just became, I'm paying for this to sit like in a storage in a bank vault somewhere. He's like, what am I doing? So now he's at a point where he's like, maybe I should think of slowing down my collecting. But I'm like, hey, if you love it, hey, power to you. But anyways, let's leave on that good note. Thank you, JP. It's been great. Stay tuned again for the comments we will leave in the group on Sunday for our new members and for our prize giveaways. Thanks, JP.
Thank you. Happy collecting.